The Brewhouse was created to capture and share with you the long history of the Genesee Brewery, but the brewery itself isn't half as interesting as the beer and the people who make it. Visit GeneseeBrewhouse.com. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. To my left this week, Nate Rowan, the media superstar, also works for the Red Wings part-time.
Hey, Bill.
How are you? Good to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
And Pat Duffy is wearing a hockey jersey.
Well, yeah, 50th anniversary of the Sabres. Season starts this week. The most beautiful of any hockey sweater that ever existed. The white, authentic Sabres original.
What do you think of those gold ones?
I love the gold ones. I have to get my gold ones still.
Apparently they're going to wear white gloves with them, too.
I hate white gloves, but don't get me started on white gloves. It makes me very angry.
Nate, let's talk baseball. The team we know and love, the Minnesota Twins, Rochester Red Wings, Major League affiliate, in the playoffs, playing the Yankees, a team that really seems to have their number. Do you see a way through for Minnesota to get into the next round?
They're going to have to outslug teams if they're going to win any sort of games. The Yankees are going to be a hard team to outslug because if you look at their numbers, the Minnesota Twins set the home run record this year. The Yankees obliterated the previous record but finished behind the Twins, just one behind. But in the playoffs, that type of game just doesn't translate well. The teams that win the playoffs are teams that can pitch, and the Twins starting rotation is just a disaster right now. Jose Barrios is likely to start game one, but after that, Jake Odorizzi will probably make a start. But it's just the team hasn't proven it yet, and the Yankees are obviously a proven playoff team, and I think until the Twins can prove that they can beat the Yankees are going to have that psychological edge.
I don't know. We're living in new times, though, now. I mean, let's take, for example, what happened in the wild card game the other night. I mean, that game is essentially decided entirely by home runs that just keep happening over and over again. If the Yankees can go out and be successful, or the Twins, one of those two teams, if they can get to the point where they're facing Houston, right, I think that baseball general managers will now reconsider this idea that you have to have pitching in the fall because, listen, that ball jumps. Those fences keep getting shorter, and teams are winning games strictly on swinging a baseball bat. Why would you go out and spend the money that you have to spend on these arms and on the assets you have to spend at the deadline to get further in the playoffs if one of these two teams can pull it off? And I'm not entirely convinced that they can't do it.
Boy, just about everyone, though. I think it was a CBS panel of 10 sports writers picking through the playoffs, and you never see unanimity. They all picked Houston to go all the way.
Yeah, and because of their pitching. I mean, you look at Justin Verlander, Garrett Cole, one of those two is going to win the Cy Young, the other's going to finish second. Zach Greinke might be the best number 3 starter in baseball history. I mean, that's really incredible what they offer, and their lineup is no slouch either. They won the World Series a couple years ago behind their lineup. So, it's baseball, though. Rarely does the best team win the World Series, and that's baseball in a way is a lot like hockey in that you can have the best team, but if you're not playing well come playoff time, you could be bounced in the first round like Tampa was last year.
Well, plus you also have to consider, too, how long are you going to stick with one of your guys? I mean, you name those 3 pitchers and they're phenomenal pitchers, but let's say they come out flat like, Washington did the other night. How long? Scherzer comes out and looks like a tire fire. All it takes is 4 or 5 hot bats in the first 2 innings to run one of these guys that you're relying on to win playoff games completely out of the game. And now we're sitting even again going into the 4th, 5th inning, right?
And a best-of-5 series, that's a big impact because you go to your bullpen early. Now your bullpen is behind the 8 ball for the next couple of games. That's a big impact on these series.
Well, and getting back to Minnesota, the fact that it's 3 out of 5 plays a little bit to their advantage, right?
Definitely. I would say definitely. And if they were matched up with Houston, I don't know if I would like their chances in a best-of-5. But again, if a batter can get hot and carry a team, a 5-game series, it could be over in 3 games.
What has to happen for them? Because I look at it and it says I have a tough time making Minnesota's case because I saw so many of these guys pitch in Rochester this year.
Yeah, I think what people don't know about the Twins right now is the names are not there in their bullpen, the back end of their bullpen. Taylor Rogers, Tyler Duffy, Sergio Romo's a name, but not many people know about Taylor Rogers and Tyler Duffy until this year. Duffy was on the Red Wings opening day roster this year with us. And he has pitched extremely well. Trevor May's in that discussion. And they've been one of the best bullpens the second half of the season. And again, it's not the names. It's how well are you playing right now. And, the Twins really don't get that credit because they haven't proven it in the postseason.
It's like I always say, you have a Duffy on your team, you're going to be successful.
We have a Duffy on our team.
That's right.
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Talking football next. The Press Box is brought to you in part by Bay & Goodman Pizza, a local Rochester favorite. Corner of North Winton and Browncroft, Bay & Goodman Pizza. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brewhouse. Simply, what do you make of the Bills' efforts against the Patriots last week?
It was funny. I'm driving home after the game on Sunday, and I have this weird feeling because I'm not happy. I'm not happy about what happened, but I'm also not upset. Right? I was in this weird purgatory of Bills fandom because every ride home from a home Patriots game the last how many years has just been anger and anguish and just wanting to do something
terrible. And then you subject yourself to the talk show. It's more people that are heaping on anger.
But it wasn't even low. Everybody that called that show afterwards was like, I don't even know what that was, just because you beat them. I mean, you beat the Patriots in every facet of the game except for a single special teams play. You outgained them offensively. You shut them down defensively. It's not just that game. Like a very smart man with a beard talked about last week, Sean McDermott has a recipe to stop Tom Brady. Not only did he made him look human in the first 4 games, he made him look like a tire fire on Sunday. 46 point whatever quarterback rating, the lowest he's had since 2006. I mean, I'm standing there watching this in the stadium, and I cannot believe what I'm seeing. That Tom Brady, the man who always finds a way, he intentionally grounded that ball 5 times. It was bananas. They're going to beat this team. They're right there. These two teams are even. And think about how opening day, you were talking about this might be the greatest Patriots team of all time. You were
Didn't
talking.
say that.
You did.
I said they was special, and I said it was the best one since they were unbeaten.
You said undefeated season talk. Oh my God, get the tape. Find the tape. You know it exists. You said
I don't
there
say
has
that
been
kind
talk
of
of an undefeated season, and I made fun of you. Anywho.
No, didn't happen.
Point I'm trying to make. There's tape.
Yeah. I mean, I go back to the time when everyone's predicting that they might go undefeated again. As the Patriots right now are more well thought of than at any time since then.
Are people outside of your home talking about the Patriots that way, or is that just you
All
and your
the power
family?
rankings.
Oh, really?
All the
Bill
power rankings.
Pucko power ranking Patriots are awesome.
I think the most interesting team out there this year is the Pittsburgh Steelers.
The point I'm trying to make is that this team is just as good as that Patriots team. That's the best offense and defense you're going to see all season. I feel really good after what happened on Sunday.
Defense is pretty awesome.
Yeah, and you shut down Tom Brady and that offense. I mean, it's not like they're talking about like Julian Edelman was banged up. The guy played. If the guys play in the NFL, like they're good enough to be on the field, they're fine. And they did a great job and they game plan against the Patriots, probably better than any team in the NFL. I mean, there's teams that arguably have had better defenses personnel-wise the last couple of years, and Brady has just torched them. It's whatever Sean McDermott is game planning for the Patriots is just dynamite. Now, the big loss is obviously Harrison Phillips tore up his knee. He's out for the season. That'll be a big loss. We'll see if they can replace him. But the rest of that defense is scary good.
Well, Harrison Phillips, that's the most impressive thing. He missed that game against New England. He tore up his knee the week before. You didn't know. And I love Harrison Phillips. I'm a big Harrison Phillips guy. They pull a guy named Kyle Pucko off the practice squad. Now, if you're familiar with his background, his wife had cancer. He missed the first couple of days of camp. Great story, but he's not someone you would expect to contribute. He was playing pretty significant downs for the Bills against one of the most prolific offenses in NFL history. I feel good, Bill. Feeling good.
Well, look, Carl Falk was in here last week, and I thought at the time he made a good point saying the New England game isn't really the important one because you kind of know where that's going. It's the next one, and the next one is this one, the game at Tennessee. A team that, is going to be in the mix with him as far as a wild card goes, and it looks like, certainly the Bills have got a real shot at it.
Sure, well, there's a couple of wild cards here. One, as we tape this, we don't know the status of Josh Allen for Sunday. But that doesn't really change my opinion, because I think Matt Barkley might be one of, if not the best backup in the NFL. The guy performed very admirably against the Patriots. He had them on the 40-yard line with $1:40 left to win that game against New England.
I feel the same way. It's more a conventional offense with him there.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it's at this point in Josh Allen's career that it's much less effective.
I agree with you. I don't think that you lose any points if they were going to put out a line with Josh versus with Matt Barkley. That being said, Tennessee is a team that scares me because they are all over the place, right? Like you go out and hang 42 on the Cleveland Browns who all of a sudden look like they can play, and then you go get your you-know-what handed to you against Jacksonville the next week. And then they go and handle Atlanta no problem. Marcus Mariota, I saw this the other day. I don't know if this is true. Is he the only quarterback to not throw an interception so far this season? I think.
Yeah.
Is that a fact?
Yeah.
I don't know which Tennessee team shows up. I hope this Bills defense completely shuts all that down. But you could also see, after all the emotion that went into that New England game on Sunday, having to go on the road against a team you're not sure about, this would be a very Bills thing to do, to play against New England the way they did and drop a game in Tennessee. Right?
So you're taking...
I'm taking the Bills, but I don't feel great about it. Is that bad? Should I not have said that out loud?
No, that's
I'm
good.
just saying, I'm nervous. I'm back to nervous again, even
Yeah,
after that. Before.
Tennessee's
The
a hard...
line, I think, is 3, but again, it depends. It's
I
really
mean,
not being played
Tennessee's
much.
just a hard team to figure out. I think that's the biggest thing is which Tennessee team are you going to get? I mean, the Titans have proven that their offense can score points. I mean, they put up a ton of points against the Browns, and then they go and don't do anything against a dysfunctional Jacksonville Jaguars team, albeit on a short week on the road. So that's what gives me hope about this Bills team is that their offense doesn't need to go out and score 30 points. This defense is going to give them a chance to win week in and week out.
I'll take Tennessee because I've picked against the Bills all season long, and they've beaten me every single time. So why waste a good thing?
Undefeated. Well, no, I take it back. They did not cover the spread one of the first weeks. But, I mean, again, 6 points on a 7-point at home against New England. They won that game. That game was theirs.
And with all the turnovers and everything else going against them.
I mean, to talk about all, like, they missed a field goal at the end of the first half, which, and, like,
Allen played him out of field goal position twice.
And dictated how they called plays when they got into the red zone later in the game because they needed a touchdown. They didn't know if they were going to get back down there. If they make that field goal, that game changes. Now, it doesn't maybe play out the way that it did, but that changes the way that they can call plays because a field goal ties the game. Who knows what happens at that point?
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Unfinished Business is next. Here's the Press Box Trivia question, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Here's the Press Box Trivia answer, brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390. Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Like it or not, to near silence, the NHL season began this week.
Well, it's a quiet beginning to the season, maybe that's part of the Sabres just not really doing a whole lot in the offseason to get better, but for an area of the country where hockey is a big deal, I mean, Stanley Cup final ratings, Buffalo is always in the top 5, whether the Sabres are in it or not. It's been a pretty quiet start to the NHL season, and that's concerning for the league itself because if it's not popular here, where else is it going to be popular?
Well, I mean, in our area, I think the Bills being good takes away from the Sabres season starting because normally at this point in the Bills season, hey, Sabres are coming, time to go watch some hockey. But, I mean, I think the Sabres did do enough to address things. I know that there's a lot of skepticism, but you bring in Marcus Johansson, you bring in a guy like Jimmy Vesey. These are two guys who have been in the league. Johansson, a vet, legitimately, who can put the puck in the back of the net. You economically filled in spots without having to go overspend like some other teams did, and dear Lord, did they. I mean, it all comes down to, do the teams that you think are going to be successful, can they stay healthy? Toronto, Tampa Bay, what happens in New York with their economical goalie letting Lehner walk? I mean, I am very excited to see where this season
But the point
goes.
of having the season open, isn't there anything the NHL can do to wave at the North American public and say, it's time? They did nothing.
They signed Green Day, the band, to be a partner with them, which is great, in 2004. Yeah, no, the NHL is terrible at promoting their product. They've always been terrible at promoting their product. You could have sent your entire league overseas to be the national headliner of the Olympics. And they said no. Gary Bettman's a joke. He's always been a joke, and he's ruining hockey for everybody but the guys that make money owning those teams.
Right.
Like it or not, we got a Korean golfer who was suspended 3 years for flipping the finger at a crowd for having a cell phone go off.
All right, first of all, if it was a 3-year punishment for every finger that was flipped, I would never be allowed out of my house ever again. Second of all, I do love, if you watch the video, just... Did he plan this before? Because it's like you guys were talking about, before the swing was even done, like boom, there you go. And Nate, you brought up the best part, the reaction from the crowd.
Just they couldn't believe what they were seeing.
Right? Like it's just like they were more confused. Like, why is he doing this?
A cultural thing? 3 years for that.
That is insane. 3 years for a bird. But the funniest part too, you brought up a 3-year ban, but he was also fined monetarily.
$8,000.
You banned him for 3 years and fined him $8,000?
The leading money winner on the Korean tour.
Yeah. I mean, actually it was 83.
Hey, now,
excuse me.
now I will say, in a little bit of his defense, people got to turn their cell phones off if they're going to go to sporting events, to church. I mean, I can't tell you how many inconvenient cell phones have gone off. I've been at funerals and sporting events, and it's three times the last funeral I went to.
It's so
How does
bad.
that happen?
The last funeral I went to, the guy got so angry, he got out of the casket, gave him the finger. It's true. It was really weird,
And
Bill.
got fined $8,300.
Oh, he was gone. He didn't care.
We are the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House, and Unfinished Business is next. And now here's this week's MVP Experience Stat of the Week, brought to you by Sport Clips, where it's good to be a guy. No appointment ever needed.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
This cinnamon sugar pumpkin latte looks amazing.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah, I wish I were this creative.
Oh, I'm not that creative.
Oh, wow. Did you just carve this?
I did, yeah.
Try our new signature latte. It's all things pumpkin at Dunkin'.
Welcome back, and thanks for joining us. This is the Rochester Press Box, presented by the Genesee Brew House. Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'.
Super Bowl halftime show announced this week. Big, exciting show. Jennifer Lopez and Shakira in the biggest media concert that everyone in America will see at some point in February. People are scratching their heads as to why you would cast these two women who really combined haven't had a hit in 15, 20 years, and here's why. As we speak right now, the NBA is on a tour of India with some of their teams. The Buffalo Sabres, who started this week playing, they're going to be playing regular season hockey games in Sweden this year. Major League Baseball kicks off every year over in Asia, and they play a couple of games in Mexico, sometimes Cuba, or Puerto Rico, things like that. If the NFL is bad at one particular thing, it's growing their game internationally. You have your England series, but that's been a little bit weird. You play some games in Mexico every once in a while, and back in the day, they would play games in Asia preseason. They call it the American Bowl. But as of right now, at least over the last 20 years, the NFL has done really nothing to try and grow the game globally. That's what this halftime show is all about. Shakira, as much as you don't care about her now, is still a global icon. They're hoping to get eyes on this game from around the world so they'll fall in love with the game. But I don't think it works. The only way to get cultures that aren't into your sport is to go there and do it. The NBA did it. They have been phenomenal doing it. If the NFL wants to make this work, you need to find a way to go overseas, bring your product to them, instead of putting out some woman whose hips haven't lied in like 17 years.
Major League Baseball in 2012 implemented the wild card game, and a lot of skeptics said one game in baseball is not a good thing because too much unpredictability can happen in one game of baseball, and really any sport. But the one thing that a sport that has been dying for people to pay attention to, that the wild card game has provided, is excitement on every single pitch. You look at the 7-8 years of games in the wild card, and there's a handful of them that stick out. Toronto beat Baltimore in extra innings on a walk-off home run. When I was in Kansas City in 2014 with the Royals, when they rallied to beat the A's, they were down 7-3 in the 8th inning and ended up winning that game, made it all the way to the World Series that year. And then Tuesday night, Washington Nationals had been quiet all night till the 8th inning. One mistake leads to the Washington Nationals moving on and the Milwaukee Brewers going home. It's a fascinating game, one game in baseball. For a sport that has been dying for some attention, the wild card has provided every bit of excitement that they could have possibly hoped for.
North Carolina almost beat Clemson last week in college football. They missed a two-point conversion down a point, and they lost by a point. Well, this is rare air for North Carolina, so they decided to have a little fun with it. They go to the Jumbotron, and they find some Clemson fans, and they start posting captions down underneath them. One of them says, still thinks the fridge is an appliance, and not former, Clemson Hall of Famer William Refrigerator Perry. Another says, also a Patriots fan, cue to front runners. And another one says, under a woman says, thinks Clemson is in Georgia, right? This is all good fun. Well, apparently not. There was an outcry from the Clemson fans that claimed that it was demeaning and classless. And to make matters worse, the North Carolina athletic director went out and apologized for it. People, there's more serious things to worry about out there, like consorting with a foreign government to try to fix our elections, for one. Serious. These are not serious issues. You got to learn to laugh at yourself at least. Get a life. And stop apologizing, for Pete's sakes. Unfinished Business, brought to you by Dunkin'. America runs on Dunkin'. Nate, thanks very much.
Thanks for having
Good
me
insight
again.
on baseball. I agree with you with the whole one-game playoff. You know, you play all those games of that, and it doesn't seem fair, but it sure is exciting.
Hey, it puts incentive on winning the division.
Yeah. Pat, thank
Listen,
you.
I agree with you 100%. After all of your performances all these years, you've never apologized to me once, and I can respect that.
Never will. Thank you for joining us. Mike Catalana, big return next week onto the Rochester Press Box. We'll see you next week.